Do you know what that sound is? I'll give you a hint. Welcome back to Box Homeschool. I am currently homeschooling a 4th, 7th, and 10th grader, and I just received a really big box of curriculum that I'm looking forward to using next year, but I wanted to unbox it with you, go through it with you, kind of give first impressions, and maybe this will help you decide for what you want to use next year. This video is in partnership with one of my favorites, Beautiful Feet Books, and if you've never used their curriculum, you are in for a treat. I've been using them for so many years. I have many videos and blog posts all about Beautiful Feet Books and some of the amazing studies that we've used with them, from history to geography to some music study. They have a lot of great studies and involve so much great literature to go along with it. And let me show you what we're planning to use for history for the 2025-2026 school year. First, each order comes with their signature bookmark. Okay, so we are planning to use Modern American and World History, a literature approach for intermediate grades, technically designed for grades 6th through 8th. And I will be using this with my upcoming 5th grader and 8th grader. So it fits really well, I think, with the ages I have. And we've never studied this time period before. We've touched a lot on American and world history, but not in these later years. So I was excited to see this all updated and beautiful, and the literature I'm excited to look through. I noticed that the required reading for the study included many books that I've never read before and really never heard of. And I noticed they updated it from the original versions. So after going through 2 or 3 different curriculum options from different companies, this is the one I landed on because of the literature, because Beautiful Feet Books is nostalgic to me. We've used it for so many years, so many studies that you can look back on and hear all the things we've enjoyed about it. But I really trust that Beautiful Feet Books does a great job. I have only used their intermediate early American history and their U.S. geography for intermediate grades. This is a little bit of an older guide with the 6th through 8th grades. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they structure things and change things up for the older grades. So here's a beautiful teacher guide, Modern American and World History. So let's take a look inside. They show you many teacher guides that they've won awards for here. Okay, so it starts with the Civil War. There is the Industrial Revolution, First World War, Second World War and the Atomic Age, the struggle for freedom in the 20th and 21st centuries. Each section includes study notes, rabbit trails, and a historic table. There's an answer key, which comes in handy, a glossary, and credits. There's an intro page. There's some more info here with like a QR code once you purchase the curriculum. And then it will go through each of the required readings, which I'll show you these books in a minute. Short description on each of the books, and then it goes into part 1, the Civil War. These pages, by the way, are really thick and high quality for the teacher guide to hold up really well, and there's beautiful illustrations throughout that I will usually show my kids. Here is a description of what this section will be about. So it talks about the first book, Across 5 Aprils, what to expect from that story. Here's a section, factors leading up to the Civil War. Okay, let's look at an example of lesson 1. I'm so excited, by the way, because I have not looked at this yet. I'm just enjoying this first look with you. Lesson 1, it says introduce and read chapters 29 through 31 in a child's first book of American history, hereafter referred to as a child's first. If you have joined us from our intermediate early American study, it may be helpful to review those chapters. And then they give you some discussion prompts based on the reading, although the first one is instructing us to watch something on the History Channel, and it gives the title of what to search on YouTube. There is also something online with the teacher guide as a PDF so that you can more easily click on links there. This I'm looking forward to. We haven't done this in a while with like discussion questions that I'm asking after reading aloud. And I really missed just written narration. So we've done that for many, many years. This current school year for history, we're using a curriculum that we're not doing narrations for. There's just more like a workbook that goes along with it. So I've really missed that narration part of things. So I'm looking forward to that, and also doing some oral comprehension questions just to make sure they know what's going on and to open up that door to discussion. For the second one, it talks about how chapter 29 mentions the idea of a manifest destiny and gives you a video to watch on YouTube. Then they give instructions on setting up your student notebook, which I'm excited about. And then in the notebook, it gives you some directions on what to start writing about. So there are some vocabulary words to look up, some other unfamiliar words from a Midwestern dialect that gives the translation. And then we start reading chapters 1 and 2 in Across 5 Aprils. My oldest daughter read this one already, and I'm excited to read it with my younger two. Cut out, color, and paste on the timeline bombardment of 14 Fort Sumner. Another thing I'm excited about that we've missed from Beautiful Feet books is their timeline. Let me show you that now. So your package will also come with this timeline. This is something very nostalgic to our family. We've been doing this for a very, very long time. So they give you this actual cardstock timeline that folds out accordion style like this. We found rubber cement works really well just to keep things smooth. That first direction said, there's all these like pre-illustrated timeline things. So the first one said to cut out the bombardment of Fort Sumter. So by the time they instruct you to cut this out, you would have already read about this in the story. So they'll know something about it. I take turns since we share this study, like my son will do it first, then my daughter, then my son, then my daughter. I would have my son color this, cut it out, and he would go ahead and paste it onto our timeline. And it's nice to have that visual up in your home while you're studying this whole year of these significant events, the kind of touch points in history that would recall some of the learning and really help to reinforce it for a longer term. So that is the timeline. They give you all of these pre-printed illustrations that are beautiful. Okay, so back to the study. All of these blue sections are areas that you would probably want to read with your kids, give kind of just some extra information. Sometimes they have real photographs. And then there'll be a section in this kind of sage color that include books for rabbit trails. So very much along the same theme of what you're learning. But let's say you want to assign some individual reading. This is a great place to find it. Or maybe just extra read alouds for the family. I personally try to use it for individual read alouds. So not all of them, it's a lot. If you have some voracious readers, this is so helpful because, well, my daughter's always asking, what's next? What's next? I need the next book. She is notorious in our family for reading the whole book in a day, and that drives me nuts because I love it, but I also am not prepared for the next book constantly. So any kind of extra book list like this, Rabbit Trail, staying on topic, but vetted books from Beautiful Feet books that I can more easily trust, and titles that I can quickly reference online and see what I think, read any reviews, and then put these on hold at the library just so that they're on hand and ready to go. Oh, we did read Free Water. That was such a good book. And then there are these fun activities. This is Charlotte Russe. Does anyone remember that? There was a clothing store. There's a recipe included. There are a lot of great extra things to do in this guide. And I would say if you want to get the most out of Beautiful Feet books, pick and choose the things that you and your children will enjoy the most and set aside the things that are going to cause you more stress or guilt. Like, for example, if I was just using this with my son, reading does not come as quickly to him and he's not devouring books one after the other. So I would maybe pick one of these, if any, and maybe instead make the recipe with him. Whatever you choose to pull in, make sure it's good for you and your family, because all of these things are in line with the study, which is great. They give you so many options, but you do not have to do all of them. And remember, this is just one subject. This is history, and you have all these other subjects you need to get to, right? So kind of give it its appropriate attention. And really, if you try to do it all of the things suggested in this book, then it could have a negative effect on you or your kids, where it's just too much that it takes away the novelty and the fun of these really great stories. Okay, so here is the second part. Again, something to read there, some quotes and photographs. Each lesson will give directions on what to read, discussion questions, prompts on when to use the timeline, and then these added information sections. And then at the end of each section, you'll see again the rabbit trails and some kind of activity. And this one is some instructions on how to make a porterhouse steak, and then it'll go into the next unit. The end activities are so much fun, and I love looking at the rabbit trail books. Let me show you the answer key here. So in the back of the teacher book, you'll have the answer key. So any discussion questions that come up there, sometimes I don't know the answer, and it's really nice to be able to just flip back and check. Are we in line? Are we even close to what they're trying to get at? So that's nice and labeled for us parents. And then it's just a glossary. So that is a lovely teacher guide. Now let me show you some of the books, and maybe I will pull out this description page of all the books just to kind of help guide us along. So this is the first book, and this is actually a spine of the study. We've had this for early American history and actually another study, I can't remember, maybe because we did both primary and intermediate level. And this actually is not my favorite book, mostly because of the illustrations. I just feel they're a little bit much for me, inaccurate or unflattering. And that's just an opinion. That's super subjective, right? But just in case you're curious, whatever is assigned in this book. I actually do pre-read, which I don't do often, but because of my opinion about it, I just want to make sure that it's worth reading out loud. So that's the first book. I actually didn't use it much in our early American history study, but comes with the set, so I am going to reference it, see what's worth reading or not. But I am very much excited for the rest of these books that come with this package. So let's start. The first book here says Across 5 Aprils by Irene Hunt. Here it is. It says, this is a Newbery Honor title. It's the unforgettable story of young Jethro, who comes of age during the turbulent years of the Civil War. And this is about how thick it is. And I've been looking forward to this one for sure. That's the first book you're going to read. And then the next one is Escape from Slavery, The Boyhood of Frederick Douglass. In his own words, we have read the YWAM biography of his. So this is a nice shorter read. Let's see. But it's in his own words, which will be interesting. It says, for the first time, the most important account ever written of a childhood in slavery is accessible to young readers. The next book is Carver, A Life in Poems by Marilyn Nelson. It says, this Newbery Honor winner is a moving biography in poetry by award-winning writer Marilyn Nelson. It provides young readers with a compelling lyrical history of the life of the revered Black botanist, agricultural genius, and inventor George Washington Carver. Another person we've studied quite a bit on with mostly chapter books, so this will be nice to dive into as well. My kids are already familiar with a lot of his story, and this is all poetry. Wow. You know who's going to love this is my daughter. But what doesn't she love about books, right? Theodore Roosevelt is the next book by Genevieve Foster. Oh, it looks so familiar, right? If you've read any of her other books, this cover just looks so like her. And this one says, Teddy Roosevelt was a force at the time of American history when the country needed his clear-headed leadership. So it's going to talk about his childhood and his road to becoming one of the American presidents. The next one is The Wright Brothers. My son actually read this because we did the History of Science with Beautiful Feet books. I believe it's the same book because it was a landmark book as well. And it tells the story of the Wright brothers and their childhood and their upbringing, how they became pioneers of American aviation. The next book is called Rascal. This one is brand new to us. Never heard of this, never read it. It says, a memoir of a better era. This beloved book is a classic memoir of a childhood growing up in a small town in Wisconsin, where young Sterling is constantly outdoors, reveling in the wonder of nature. When Sterling befriends a raccoon kit, his world takes on an entirely new sense of fun and adventure, as he and his new companion, whom he names Rascal, becomes inseparable. So this takes place in the World War II era. Here is the next book, Sergeant York. It's about this illiterate backwoodsman who becomes a beloved hero of World War I through his sharpshooting ability. The next one is The Singing Tree. We've never read this, but I've heard so many good things about this. It says, life changes drastically for one Hungarian family when World War I breaks out, upsetting their peaceful existence. When Hungary must send troops to fight in the Great War, Jansi's father is called to battle and the children are left in charge of the farm. I love that Beautiful Feet Books finds these great stories where we can walk through that time period of history and see it from another's eyes. Okay, here's the next one. Out of the Dust. It says, winner of the Newbery Medal, this book chronicles the life of one Dust Bowl family as they face the loss of everything they've worked so hard to build. The next one is Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. My oldest daughter has read this one in, I think, 8th grade. This one I see on a lot of reading lists. It says, the land is all important to the Logan family, but it takes time for Cassie and her 3 brothers to understand just how fortunate they are to have it. They must learn the hard way that having a place they can call their own in rural Mississippi permits the Logans the luxuries of pride and courage that their fellow sharecropper neighbors can't afford. Okay, this next one I'm excited about because it's set in Asia, and that is something that I'm always looking for. Great books about Asian stories. The House of 60 Fathers. Tian Pao is all alone in an enemy territory. His family has escaped from the Japanese army, fleeing downriver by a boat. Then comes a terrible rainstorm. Tian Pao is fast asleep in the little sampan when the boat breaks loose from its moorings and drifts right back into enemy territory. The next story is War Boy, which is here. This is interesting, right? This horizontal book. Oh, it's more of like a graphic novel, but not. This will be interesting. Change of pace, and that's great for variety for my kids. This is War Boy, a wartime childhood set in World War II. Okay, the next one is Number the Stars. I mentioned this as a book required for learning language arts through literature, so I'm so grateful to have this on hand. Usually we would have to find it at the library, but there's that one. Okay, Number the Stars is a story of a 10-year-old Danish girl who courageously helps to save the family of her Jewish friend. This will be a great story to read together. Okay, now looks like we're heading more into World War II. This is the next book, Air Raid Pearl Harbor. This book talks about Theodore Taylor examining both sides of the battle, taking a closer look at the events leading up to it, and providing compelling insight into the motives and operations of the brave men and women swept up in the fight. I'm very interested to read this because so many history books in America are all about the American side of it, and being Japanese American, I think it would be really nice to hear both sides of the story from an American written book. If you have any other in this study, I'm definitely going to look at the rabbit trails on this to see if there are other books in the same line where they aim to tell both sides of World War II. The next one is called Bomb right here. This is World War II as well. I think as we get closer to events that at least I'm familiar with in my time period, it's going to be very interesting to share that with my kids. This one's called Bomb, The Race to Build and Steal the World's Most Dangerous Weapon, and it is a Newbery Honor book as well. The next one is called The Year of Impossible Goodbyes right here. What is this one? I'm interested already. It says, it is 1945 and the courageous 10-year-old Sukan and her family must endure the cruelties of the Japanese occupation of Korea. Police Captain Narita does his best to destroy everything of value to the family, but he cannot break their spirit. Okay, the next book is Turning 15 on the Road to Freedom, My Story of the 1965 Selma Voting Rights in March. This looks really good too. Look at this cover, so beautiful. But I love that so many of these stories that Beautiful Feet Books finds are from a child's perspective, and that's something I really appreciated about the early American history study, is that many of the books are told from a child's point of view, so your kids can easily relate to the stories. This book is talking about the civil rights movement. The next book is A History of Us, All the People. This is a very big series, many books in this series. My oldest daughter in high school has read many of these books. It's not written as a living book in particular, but it does have a lot of great information and told in a very easy storytelling type of way. The next book is Stealing Home, the story of Jackie Robinson, the first Black man to play in the white major leagues. This should be very interesting to read. The next book I've been interested in reading as well. I've been looking for living books about Vietnamese central characters, and this is Water Buffalo Days. I heard there's some violence in this from another review. So what I do is I don't pre-read, but I do pre-read with my eyes, if that makes sense. Right before I'm saying the words, I look ahead with my eyes and just already know if there's a situation I'd rather not say. I just kind of skip that part. It doesn't happen often, but that's just my way of catching things before maybe something comes out that I prefer not. The next book is Ronald Reagan. I'm really looking forward to that. We have the YWAM biography on him as well, so it'll be nice to read a different book about him. And the last book is Ground Zero, and we have not read this. We have watched a couple of kid-appropriate YouTube videos about 9/11, so I'm really looking forward to reading this. Like, this looks like an adult book, right? Which I'm kind of excited about for my 5th and 8th grader. So those are all the books covered in this Modern American and World History study designed for 6th through 8th graders. I think there's 23 books in all. There is an option on the website to omit some of the books. Let's say you have a few already on your shelves. You can omit some of them and lower the cost of your package. If you homeschool with a charter school, they do accept quite a few charter schools, and you can use your funding on their packages. They may customize it just a bit to make it fit the charter school recommendations, but that's another option. If you have any questions about this Modern American and World History study for 6th through 8th graders, let me know in the comments, or really any Beautiful Feet Books study, because there's a good chance that our family has gone through it. Feel free to let me know. I have blog posts and videos in the past detailing our experience with it, and we've just had such a great experience with Beautiful Feet Books. And a big part of that is making sure that you tailor it for your family. So don't use this guide as a must-do list, but more of an inspiration list. And if a particular book doesn't fit what you want for your family, set that aside. If you're really into adding YouTube videos to your curriculum, they have that in here. So there's just a lot in here, but don't feel the pressure to do it all, because that's not really what it's designed for. It gives you so much more than you need, but I love that fact because we can pick and choose what works best for our family. I do have an affiliate link in the description. It blesses me so much when you use that when you're already planning to make a purchase from here, because then I can continue to invest the time back into showing all the curriculum and giving our reviews on it and flip throughs and how we use it for our family. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough with us of the curriculum, and I'll see you in the next one.